We have 3 pretty rad kids, if I don't say so myself, and each one of them has their own amazing and beautiful adoption story. We get asked all the time, what are their stories? So I'm going to talk about their stories, and I'm going to answer some questions that you guys have had to go with those. So grab your coffee and come join me. It all began straight out of college. It was the late 90s, y'all. We had just gotten married 2 months into our marriage, and bam, we find out that my husband, Dustin, has testicular cancer. It stopped our world. What in the world were we gonna do? We wanted a family, we knew that, and I had never known anyone growing up who was adopted. Adoption was not on our first radar. It wasn't something that I knew anything about or that Dustin knew anything about. It was one of those moments that forever changed the trajectory, is that the word? Of our life. You know what I'm trying to say. The trajectory of our life. We were at a crossroads. What do? We prayed and prayed. We decided that a trip to the sperm bank was in order, to freeze some stuff for later. We knew trying to get pregnant right away was not gonna happen. We had like a week, like really, come on. So my husband went through surgery, preventative radiation, praise the Lord, did not spread anywhere, but that took, like a year out of our life, healing from that, figuring out what's next, moving on, and we had some major life moves, like moving from California to Nevada to Alaska, of all places. And we just prayed and waited for the right time for us to figure out what was next. Because I had dreamt my entire life of being a mom. Since I was 5, that's all I wanted to do was be a mom. So years went by, and we decided it was time to start fertility treatments, to do in vitro. That was the only way that we could try to have biological children. So over the next few years, we attempted that. We did like 5 in vitros and had a torsioned ovary in one of them, had acupuncture for one of them, basically stood on my head, to get everything to work right, stood on my head and rubbed my tummy and touched my nose and all that to try to get it to work. And God said no. That was difficult to state it plainly. Never did I ever once think that God would say no to us having biological children. Pregnancy was what I wanted to experience, and I had that on a high pedestal, and I had to experience that. I wanted to experience that. God ended up giving me just a few weeks of experiencing that with our last in vitro attempt. They had all failed. The last one I did get pregnant, and that ended in a miscarriage. That devastating. And where do we go from there? It was too hard on my body. I could not do in vitro anymore. The mood swings, the weight gain, everything with artificial hormones. For those of you who have gone through infertility treatments, and if you haven't and you're thinking about going through it, it's rough on your body. So go into it prepared. I was not prepared. We decided it was too much. It was a lot of money, for one, y'all, and 2, tough on my body, and then the emotional strain. I mean, for like 4 years, we went through this, and it was devastating. We came to a point where we had to decide, all right, now what? What is God's plan for us? How will He bring children to us? After lots of prayer, we realized if we wanted to grow a family, adoption was it. And because it was foreign to us, we had no idea what we were getting into. Thankfully, God brought friends around us who had the same heart for adoption, and it fired us up. We were told about an agency in California that matched birth families and adoptive families together. Christian-based, we signed up with them. We used them for our son. We got matched up with just a few months of signing up, and he was born from the day we got accepted by the agency to the day that he was born was 9 months exactly. So that was my pregnancy. And that was the picture perfect adoption, and I'm so thankful because I needed that. I needed that to be able to heal. I was like immediately ready for a second adoption. Colin was 1.5, 2, and we started praying, okay, God, when do we start this next round? When do we start fundraising? When do we do all the things to get ready for it? And a total of 6 years went by of fundraising and waiting, and then finally getting matched. And we were finally matched on my birthday of all days, which was absolutely amazing. In between the two, we had an adoption loss, and that's a whole nother story. You can watch that video. But we were ready to fill our hearts, to fill our lives with baby number 2. And this one wasn't as smooth. It was supposed to be as smooth, or even smoother than number 1. But birth father came out of the woodworks, and after abandoning birth mom, decided, oh, adoption's part of the plan? I think I'm gonna step in and try to take over. So that extended his adoption finalization for 6 months. So that was a lot of extra money, a lot of extra heartache on that one. And at that point, when it was final, we were like, oh, we can breathe, we can just be overjoyed, we can move on and move forward with raising our family and raising our 2 boys. And it was beautiful. Little did we know that only a 1.5 years later, we would get a surprise. Our daughter, her birth parents, out of the blue, asked us 3 weeks before she was born if we would be her forever family. And of course, yes, 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 yes. Were we scared to death because it was such a short notice? Yes, but we went through all the steps, and we were able to be at the hospital with all 3 of our babies, which is a huge gift and a huge, amazing miracle and blessing from the Lord. So with our son at the hospital, my husband cut the umbilical cord. With our second son at the hospital, I am standing right next to the doctor when he is born. My husband cuts the umbilical cord. Baby number 3, our precious little princess, she was born, and she was so little she had to go into the NICU for a week, and I was mom. The birth dad introduced me as mom to the hospital staff, and I was mom. It was a beautiful, humbling moment that I won't ever forget. God orchestrated every single detail in all of those adoptions, and through that has grown us tremendously. We are on fire for adoption. We are advocates for adoption. We are advocates for race and adoption and family and infertility and all that stuff. We want to talk about all of it. We want to encourage everyone who is thinking about these things, going through these things. We want to be here to encourage you and support you and cheer you on with whatever stage you are at. And don't remind Dustin, but I am totally ready for baby number 4. Shh, it's our little secret. We get questions all the time about our adoption stories, and I wanted to answer some of those for you. It always helps to hear from real life people who go through these, and especially if you are thinking about adoption or you're in the middle of an adoption story, adoption plan, you always want to hear what other people go through. So our first question that we get asked all the time is, why did we choose adoption? That question's easy to answer. It wasn't at the time, but it's easy to answer now because God closed the door to having biological children and opened our eyes and opened doors wide to allow us this beautiful relationship, this beautiful way of growing our family that we would have never been able, we would have been missing out if we had not grown our family by adoption. So God planned it for us. He had it planned this whole time, and we were along for the ride, and it took us going through those hard times, the infertility and the cancer and the waiting and the emotional ups and downs. It took us going through that for our hearts to be prepared and ready for adoption, and God knew that and prepared us. And once we started, we were 100% in, and now we're 1,000,000% in. And if we could go back and change how our kids were brought to us, we wouldn't, because our kids are amazing. And the thought of not having them in our lives, it's not even fathomable. I can't do it. I do not want to experience pregnancy anymore. I want my kids, and they are mine, they are ours, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So it took that, and sometimes it takes the pain to bring the real blessing and at the way that God wants it to come. So that's why we chose adoption. Next is, how in the world did we get matched up with the birth parents that we did? The agency that we used, Lifetime Adoption Center, was fantastic. We used them for 2 out of the 3 of our adoptions. And if we ever are to sign up with an agency again and go through all the steps, we would use Lifetime hands down. Check them out and tell them I sent you. You will not be disappointed, I promise. So how it works is you get approved by an agency. At least this is how it worked at Lifetime. We filled out an application, we got approved. They're looking for Christian families who love the Lord, who have no kids, a couple kids. They help you put kind of a life story together for you that they share with birth families. And with the birth families, they are counseling those women. They are getting them ready for the plan that they are making. They are giving them confidence in their plan, giving them resources for their plan, helping them, counseling through their plan, helping them every step of the way. And it is beautiful. On our end, you need to go through, some of the steps before you can be shown to a birth family is you have to have a home study done. The home study, background checks, they look at your income levels, they look at your health. You have to have something signed by your doctor, fingerprints, sheriff cards, FBI background checks, all that stuff to make sure you are who you say you are and that there is no criminal past, that everything's on the up and up, that you are financially stable enough to care for a child, that you are mentally stable enough and healthy enough to care for a child. They get references from your friends. All of that is included in a home study, and that's pretty straightforward across the board no matter what state you're in. Those are the requirements that you have to go through. We've been in 3 different states having our adoptions, and they all were standard that way. When you are working with an agency that wants to match you with a birth family, you put your best foot forward. And this was 2007, so this was a while ago, and our packets looked like this. So we have our name, we have a professional picture, we have a little note to the birth family here. And if you ever want to know what kind of things we said, I'm happy to share that with you. Just ask. And so you put something together like this. It was tied, it was scrapbooky, it was beautiful, it was something simple that the birth mom gets mailed. She gets however many people match her preferences, and she looks through these. On the inside, we talked about our marriage and our faith and some pictures of us. Of course, you want to put all your best pictures. You want to show you're having fun. You want to show your hobbies. I'm baking and sewing, and we're riding bikes. Dustin's playing video games, and you talk. You talk about yourself. You give a glimpse into your life that a birth mom will read, and the right birth mom is going to connect to you. You never know what that's going to be. So you be honest about who you are. You say how amazing you are, and the right birth mom will want to be matched with you. And that is a beautiful thing. So this was for Collins. This was our first adoption. This one was for Dane, which was 5 years later, and a little bit more professional, like the all digital stuff, except this is a real picture. And in this one, we have pictures with our family, pictures with Colin in there, our favorite things to do, pictures, so a totally different look, but the same idea for both of them. And then, on the back, you just say for more information or whatever your agency wants you to put. But it's a love letter to your birth family. You are saying, this is who we are. We would love to be the forever family for your child. here's a glimpse of us. Welcome to our life. You're welcoming them in, and they get a glimpse as to who you are. And that's how you're chosen. Another question that we get a lot is, what was that first conversation like with your birth families? Oh my goodness, I was nervous as heck. Nervous. It's like the worst, best job interview ever, right? You're being interviewed to be a mom, a parent, and you want to say everything right, sweating all over. I'm sure our birth moms were totally nervous on the other end too, but they were beautiful conversations. We asked each other questions. We talked for hours, and I asked her questions about her life, about the pregnancy, just supportive questions like, how are you feeling in this pregnancy? Not only physically, but emotionally. What are the things you're going through? How is your family feeling about the adoption plan? Oh gosh, I don't even remember. It's such a blur. It just was good. On their end, they asked us questions, and it's similar. Every question that you imagine a birth mom would ask, they ask. How do you see yourself raising the kids? How are you planning to discipline or not the kids? What do you want to do with them? What's your life goal for them? All these big questions. Job interview, am I right? What is your best and worst quality? All those super hard questions. They were asked, and we talked about those, and we were honest about those. And they were the same with all three of our birth families that we talked to, but they don't get easier. Just because we had three and they were all similar did not make any of them easier. Still sweating like crazy. And the next one is, what are our relationships like with our birth families now? They are beautiful. We are actually traveling to go see one of them in just a few weeks. We're so excited. It will be the first time that we have seen them since the birth. We have, since each of their births, been able to see all three birth families. And it is a beautiful honor to be able to do that. We love them. They are a family. We praise God all the time that He wove our families together, that without them, we would not have our family. And cherishing that and sharing with them that we cherish them is beautiful. And I hope that they always feel how much we love them. We are an open book. Whenever we talk to them, we are sharing everything with them. And we are open with our kids about all of it. It's age appropriately at the right time. We have decided on an open adoption from the start, open between us and the birth families until our children are at an appropriate age level where they ask to talk and see them. And it has worked out amazing. We don't see them all the time. We don't talk to them all the time. But when we do, there is love, there is care, there is interest, there is this unique bond that will never change. Did any problems come up? That is a big question that we get. Yes, yes, and yes. Not for all of them, but the problems were a birth dad came out of the woodworks that we were not expecting. That was a big kink in the plan. But God is bigger than it, and we learned a ton through that. And there's always there's the nerves, and there's the emotions, and there's the how do we talk about these things at the hospital? There's all that stuff that is there that isn't bad or wrong or something that happened. It's just stuff that you all have to work through. Each adoption is a new experience for us, and it's a new experience for the birth family. And when we go into it saying, okay, I'm here for you no matter what, let's do this, and what do you need from us? And making sure that they know that they are loved and cherished, and that we do not care for them because they are choosing an adoption plan and asking us to be the forever family. We are loving them because who they are as human beings, as women who are going through something pretty big. And we want to be her biggest support and her biggest cheerleader, along with any family and friends that are helping them do that also. This is a team effort, and y'all need to work together. And each one was so beautiful in each unique way, and we cherish each of those moments. How much does adoption cost? That is probably the number one whopper of a question that we all want to know, right? It costs anywhere, for our 3 adoptions, to give you an example, we're anywhere from $17,000 to $35,000. Each situation that you're going through could be different. Our daughter, we used an agency just to file the paperwork. We didn't need them to match us with them. So that made it cheaper. That was on the $17,000 end. With our boys, we used an agency to match us, and we used their expertise and their wisdom to lead us through the new journey that we were starting on. And you pay them for that for good reason. They work hard and they do an amazing job. There's also the lawyer fees, and there's the birth mom lawyer fees, and there's hospital fees possibly, and there's, if your state allows you to help pay for housing or any medical expenses or stuff like that, all of that is included. And when you go through the legal system, and this is something that is for life, you want it done right and you want it done well, and that costs money. So it is not just lawyers are out there to want to get rich quick. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but in adoption, there's so many dotting the I, crossing the T's that have to be done. And you paid people all along the way to get that done and to do it well. So there is no chance of anything happening long-term except for good. How did we raise that money? Fundraising, 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 fundraising. We worked our katukuses off to raise that money, and God blessed us in amazing, beautiful, unexpected ways throughout each of them. And we were able to, through fundraising and through the generosity of family and friends, to pay cash for each of our 3 adoptions. We paid cash, y'all. If you want to hear more about how to do that, I have another video that talks all about fundraising and gives some great ideas on that. How did we prepare our kids for each adoption? That one, you got to know your kids. With Colin, there was no one to tell except for us and our family. So we just got so excited for that. With our second, we were preparing Colin, and that one was a little bit trickier because we had had an adoption fall through. So our hearts were tender, our hearts were raw, our hearts were scared, and we did not want to have to go through that again. But we brought Colin along with us every step of the way. We did not hide anything from him. If something bad was going to happen again, it was going to happen again, and we were going to learn together as a family as to how to get through that. And Colin would learn from us and watch us as parents as to how we dealt with that. Nothing was hidden, everything was out in the open, and we talked about everything with him, age appropriate. We're going to be at the hospital when the baby's born. We're driving to hope to get there before the baby's born. This is what you can expect when we're there. This is what's going to be happening. We're going to get to stay in a hotel for like 3 weeks, all that. We talked and pumped it up and got excited, and we happened to have a super close family friend who ended up flying out where we were to be with us, and she was able to watch Colin while we were at the hospital when Dane was born. And that was an amazing, beautiful gift that God worked out, and we're so thankful for that. So there's little blessings along the way that God works out that you might be worried about at first, but God's bigger and He's going to provide, and it's pretty darn exciting. Our kids adjusted great to each of the adoptions. Colin is an amazing big brother. When Dane was born, he was so helpful. There were 6 years in between them, those two, when Dane was finally born. And he was that proud big brother. We gave him roles, things to do to help with the baby. He got to hold and feed Dane. He got to go get one of his favorite toys to show Dane when Dane was crying. All those little things that you can think of that you can help give pride and ownership to their new role. Do those things. That will help prepare them tremendously. Now, when Ainsley was born, Dane was only 20 months, and that was a whole different ball of wax. There were the tantrums. There was not really giving him a role because he was too little. All he knew is that he can't have mom's attention as much as he used to. He did not like that. That took him a while to adjust, but at the same time, he grew up a lot faster. From the day she was born, he started sleeping in a big boy bed without rails on the side. It was a queen bed, so he had plenty of room to roll around, but that made him feel like a big kid. Those little things. He ended up potty training himself, On a Friday, we started and he'd had nothing to do with it. He did not want me trying to help him. On a Monday, on his own, Mom, I don't need your help. I got this, basically. And from then on, he was potty trained. They're totally not understanding that their world has changed, but they will click and it will happen on their own timing. They're gonna be more helpful. They're gonna be able to go to the bathroom by themselves, which for all you moms who have young ones at home, you know you need that kid to do that fast. What was it like at the hospital when your baby was born? How was that interacting with your birth moms? I love getting this question because those moments are so tender and raw and beautiful and bonding. There's nothing like it. When you, for one, are watching a child be born, doesn't matter who that kid is, but especially if it's yours, it changes your world. Second, you are there to not only be the new family for this child, but that mom has chosen you. That mom has chosen you, has asked you to be there, has brought you into her family in such a raw way. There's nothing but love and openness, and yes, there's tons of nerves because that baby is not yours until she has signed on that dotted line, and there's always those what ifs. But I learned through each experience to be upfront and ask questions and to never assume anything. With our first, I was too scared. I was too scared to ask any question because I was so fearful that she was gonna change her mind. She didn't, and it was beautiful. And our time at the hospital together was sweet, but it was new for both of us. Neither one of us knew what to expect. With our second, I had a better idea, and I was able to ask the birth mom, okay, how are you feeling today? Are you gonna change your mind? What's going through your head? I just upfront, whatever I was thinking, I asked. She probably got tired of me asking, but I asked, and I did not want any surprises, especially after the adoption loss that we had gone through. I was not having any of it. If she was questioning anything, I wanted to know. I did not want to be caught off guard at all. But when you're there, you need to remember to take care of your birth mom. You are there by her side to serve her, to love her, to offer her all the support that she needs. You are there to run an errand for her if her water broke really quickly and she forgot something that she really wanted at home that she wants at the hospital. You go get that for her, or you find someone to go get that for her. You go out and get her favorite meal and you bring it. You have flowers delivered to the hospital for her. You are honoring her, you are loving her, you are supporting her, and you are showing her that you love her for her and not because she has chosen you to be the family for her child. So you walk those waters very tenderly, very openly. If you're able to ask for a room at the hospital, that was a beautiful, amazing thing because it gives you not only time to try to sleep, but if the birth mom allows and you're able to have your new child with you in that room, that's a beautiful time for bonding. It gives both of you guys space when the attorneys show up to get everything signed. It gives her privacy, it gives us privacy. She's able to sleep when she wants to sleep, shower when she wants to shower, and she doesn't have to ask you to leave. And if you are able to be at the hospital when the baby is born, all the staff there is gonna know, and they'll be cheering both of you on and supporting both of you also. So make sure that you give them a gift. We brought candy bars left over from our fundraiser, and I had put little paper jackets around each candy bar that said thank you so much for all you do, and handed those, left like 100 of them for the doctors and the nurses and the staff there. And they are also trying to help make this transition very smooth and beautiful, so you want to honor them as well and not forget about them. Do we tell our kids they are adopted? Yes, we sure do. We do it as young as we can do it. It happens to be, for our kids, it was like around the ages of 4 when they could understand growing in a mommy's tummy and the mommy putting them in our arms and asking us to be there forever, mommy and daddy. So around age 4 was what we did, and that worked out beautiful because they have their own little questions. They can understand, they can grasp it as much as they can grasp it, but they can still get that. They have seen pregnant women, they have seen babies, at that point, and we don't hide anything. age appropriately. We want to show our kids that we are so proud of their stories, so proud how God brought them to us, so proud at whatever their situation was, that God made us a family and a beautiful family, and we do not shy away from that at all. So yes, we are open and honest about their adoption stories, and it brings pride into each of our kids. They can see our pride. They can see that we are not trying to hide anything, that we answer them honestly and with a smile on our face and with hugs and honest, good conversation. And with each of our boys, when they were like around the same ages, they started asking questions about their birth family. And because we had an open adoption, we were able to share those things with them. Like, what was their birth mom like? What does she look like? What is the birth dad like? What do they do for a living? Those were the kind of questions that we got from our boys when they're around the ages of 6 to 10. Like between those, that's when we started getting all those questions. And to be able to answer them through those is pretty amazing. We want to always come across to our kids that we honor their birth family and that we love them, and because of them, we were able to be a family. So being able to openly share and for our kids to see our hearts and honoring their birth families is a really big deal. And who named our kids? That's a big question. So with each of our kids, we have chosen the first name, and the name that the birth families were going to give, that became their middle name. And then we added a second middle name from someone in our family. So with Colin's story is pretty cool because we had come up with the name Colin, and we knew what the birth mom and birth father wanted to name him. And so we had met and we were getting together and having lunch, and this was before he was born, and we said, you know, what do you think about the name Colin to name him? And they both looked at each other and smiled and said that was the very first name that we thought about naming him. Like goosebumps. That was amazing. So of course they were like, yes. So we told them we wanted to honor them and give what they wanted to name him as his middle name, and they loved it. So with each of our kids, we have done that, and it has been beautiful. And with Dane, his middle name that his birth mom had given him, we got to choose the spelling. We worked that out with her. And same with Ainsley. Her middle name is the birth name that her birth family had given her. So there's a lot of special meaning. It's incorporating the birth side of the story. It's incorporating the adoptive side of the story, and how those are woven together is, in our minds, just a beautiful representation of who they are and how they became part of our family. So that's why we like having all the names kind of go together. It fits them, it fits their story, and it's beautiful. If adoption is hugely in your heart, or even just a little twinge, or you're just thinking about it, I would love to be a resource for you. Please reach out to me. Please ask me any questions. I have a Facebook page. It's listed down below in the description that you can come on over and join me over there, and we get in depth with all the adoption and race and family questions. That's where we're talking every day. So come on over and join us over there. Subscribe to this video and click that bell button to get notified whenever I upload a video, which right now it's coronavirus schedule. So I'm uploading new videos every Tuesday. Please like this video, and if you have any questions, please post them down below. Come on over to the Facebook group and ask them there. I am here for you. I am gonna cheer you on, be excited for you, help you in any way possible to make your adoption journey smoother. We would just love to be here to help you in any way possible. Stay tuned for the outtakes. Here they come. Was one of those moments that changed the what's your, how do you make sure to like this butt? It was one of those moments that changed the I can't say it, trajectory? What's the word?
Hey now, take a step outside and seize the day.